Mobile devices and tablets are really outdated very quickly with new models constantly coming at us. Grover is aiming to solve this issue with a new and more sustainable form of consumption. Michael, what do you mean by a more sustainable form of consumption?
From a consumer perspective, we offer an access over ownership option to consumer electronics. So from mobile phones to tablets and computers and so forth, where people pay only when they use the actual product and can return the product to Grover when they are done using it. Right? So this is very different to your traditional financing where all of us have experienced this underutilization of products, right? You buy something or you finance it and then you end up paying for the device long after you've stopped using it. Number two, I think this problem with the underutilization of products also means that we're creating more and more waste, right? So last year alone, 54 million tons of electronic waste have been disposed of in the environment, just because people stopped using the device long before it was actually still valuable.
So for Grover to provide this service, though, you have a very big capital cost in that you have to buy all the devices up front before you rent them out. How do you attract investors to finance that type of activity?
So Grover attracts two types of investors. On the one side, we attract equity investors and venture capital investors who believe that Grover can be the largest and biggest technology subscription platform at the intersection of retail and finance in the future. We also attract asset-backed capital from credit and debt investors who understand that much of those assets that we rent out in the technology space share lots of the similar characteristics to cars. So you can refurbish and repair, and many people want to use a product so long as it's still in good shape and so forth, right? So there's a similar asset-backed securitization market for consumer technology products.
But there is a big difference between the mobile device market and the automotive leasing market and just the straight value, average value of the assets that we're talking about. So how do you get asset-backed lenders comfortable that their collateral is safe?
On the one hand, the average consumer technology product is much, much cheaper than the average car, right? So your risk per customer, in theory, is actually a lot lower. The other side is also that you can attract a lot more customers with the same capital line, if you will, right? So it's 40K per car. With 1 billion in asset-backed capital, you may have a few thousand customers, very different. However, I think the topic of repossessing and all of that, I think it starts with the approval and the eligibility criteria. For us, it's very important to have an internal scoring team, an internal risk team, much like any online lender would have one, for instance, and to really assess identity of the person checking out with us and also some part of the credit history to making sure that, according to our data that we've acquired in the past and publicly available data, how likely is it that you're going to be paying on time?
What's your go-to-market strategy for Grover? Is it a B2C or are there channel partners that you've been able to develop?
So Grover is available on a multi-channel approach. We start with Grover.com. This is our starting base. However, we also want to enable existing retailers. And what they're doing today is they sell products and maybe they have some financing options at the end. We have a button that you can integrate on your product detail page as a traditional retailer that says Rent with Grover. And suddenly you'll be able to offer easy rental option to your customers on your website, whereas the customer can rent the product, right? But Grover will pay the full purchase price of the product to the retailer. So the retailer is happy, the customer is happy, and Grover is also happy because we facilitate that transition to a subscription and rental market in consumer tech.